You guys want to see a trick? I could never do that on a table, let alone in midair. And now I got pretty good at it. See? Um, um, I'm gonna do another general reading, kind of like I did last night, but hopefully I want to practice doing it this way so that I can get more into a routine, so I know exactly what to ask for when it comes to like clarity of listening to like the reading. It might not go as long. I found myself like kind of pushing myself to say things last night, so we'll see how that goes. What I think I might do is I did clear up some space too, so I have a little room to make a little diagram or like a little script. So let's see. We got the Eight of Wands. I don't know if I should tell you or just put them down. Maybe I should just put them down and then read off some things. I can show you some. I'll show you the cards as I go and talk to them. Talk to them? About them? With them? Oops. Sorry, this little jewelry idea was a little bit of an experiment too. So, hold on. That's better, right? Right? Tell me what you think, I guess. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that and show you the genre, which is temperance. So this is a this is giving me do you guys remember Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul? It's giving me if that was a movie. It's like this is a self-help movie, which is very interesting. Our main character here is going to be the Four of Pentacles. So this is a very charitable person. This is someone who like gives. We talked about people pleasers last night, so this could be a continuation of that. We also have the Five of Pentacles and the Page of Swords over our main character. So this is someone who's probably gone through lack and has, you know, like necessity is the mother of invention. It's giving that with this Page of Swords, like this combo. It's like you struggle for some things and you learn how to adapt to them. You struggle. It's like this is getting like a lot of people do. I think a lot of people resonate with doing things the hard way, or at least I don't know with if it's just the Aries stellium going on right now or what, but it's giving very much like I'd rather run through it and then learn with that. We also have, like I said earlier, the Eight of Wands. So there's a lot of like action, a lot of momentum, like this main character could be kind of like like, I think this is maybe how to like progress, to move forward, to advance, to better yourself. Again, with the temperance card at the bottom with the chicken noodle soup of the soul type of reference, is giving a lot of um it's giving a lot of like, let's move forward, let's, all that other stuff. And so on one side we have the Seven of Swords over the Queen of Pentacles, which I again has given me a lot of that. When people do those videos where like, I watched the such and such movie so you don't have to, it's giving that. It's giving like, I've gone through some things and I've taken some information to bring to you. This is definitely like teaching from experience. And with the Knight of Swords and the Death card under it, it's giving, I've seen some things. Yeah, it's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger type of thing, which can be a little bit of a romanticism of torture, torment, struggle. It's romanticism of struggle. But I think this is someone who, this main character here, this charitable main character, is kind of like they've gone through the hard times, so now they're presenting or giving something. It looks like with this Page of Swords, this new information, like this with the Page of Swords and the Four or the Five of Pentacles, it's giving valuable information. And so this person is giving valuable information so that you don't have to go through the same things that they went through. This is very much like, kind of like what parents should do, or they try to do. But I think a lot of parents put a lot of like fear into it instead of like inspiring that you'll get over it. I think a lot of people think that like, I think that some people go through things and they think that other people won't be able to handle it going through it like them, which is very interesting because you're making yourself an exceptionally exceptionally special person to be able to get over things that other people couldn't. And of course, it's not the case, because millions of people go through the same things that you've gone through, like millions of people, like, or thousands of people, or at least 100 people. I mean, like, even if it's just 10 people, I mean, that's 10 people that got over the thing that you got over, and you might not even know them. And they got over it with different skill sets than you have, or a different upbringing, or a different education, or something like that. I think that if this is like, I don't know why, but this is kind of giving me Flowers for Algernon for some reason. Yeah, I don't know if that was like, I don't know if that was fiction or nonfiction. I can't remember, because it was kind of like sci-fi-y when it came to the chemical they put in their brain to make him not autistic anymore, I guess. And I don't know, like, I didn't think about a moral of the story for Flowers for Algernon, but it is a little bit of like again, a self-acceptance thing. Like, I maybe everything I'm going to talk about is going to be self-acceptance. I know I talked about it last night that maybe I have talked about everything that I could possibly talk about, and now everything's just going to be repetitive. But if you've seen the movie or read the book, you know that whatever chemical that made him socially ideal didn't last, and he settled back into his his normality. And I think that kind of goes with a little bit of what I was talking about when it comes to like taking medication to make yourself seem a little bit more socially acceptable, and how that can make you very codependent on something outside of you to feel normal or appropriate or appreciated. And I don't know if we talk about, I don't remember hearing it like that, but I think we all kind of feel like how that is a little bit of a cage, you know, having to remember to take your normal pills every day is kind of like limiting. I think some people do get some, again, to each their own, and use your own discretion. My perspective is not universal, and your perspective is just as valuable as anybody else's. Um, but I do think, like, if we're gonna take, I don't know if that was a little bit of a tangent, but if we're gonna run down this little avenue, then I think that with the temperance card of the self-help aspect of this thing is kind of like don't worry about being not normal, I guess. Well, I guess not worry about it, but like find comfort in it. Like, it's only abnormal because you think it's abnormal, or you've, yeah. And even if it's like kind of like people suggest to you, or rather direct, which I think is rude, to tell you that you're not normal. When you start feeling like you're not normal, that's you telling yourself that you're not normal. You've accepted what's being said and you've made it your own personal thing, which is goes back to my concept. I want to say like reality coping mechanism is to realize that everyone around you is not a person per se, or at least not a person that you can grasp in their entirety, because you are wrapped in a perspective bubble where you can't, it's not, it's like when you see things, you don't see things outside of you, you see things inside of you. Like like when things happen and they trigger you, it's not about that thing, it's about you. When you see things that delight you, it's not about that thing, it's about you. When you see things that drain you, I guess, it's not about you, it's about, I mean, it's not about that, the thing that's draining you, it's about you. It's like all an opportunity for you to reflect on how you interact with the things that you perceive. Because, I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, to be in the waking world is no different than being in the dream world. And in your dream world, we consider all that to be a type of like fake. But here in the real world, or the waking world, we consider all of this to be like real and autonomous and outside of you. And it's interesting to give such power to things outside of you, because they only have power in their sphere. Like it, like if you think about it, you don't have to, you, no one has to accept anything outside of them. And I think that some people take advantage of that in certain ways, and some people don't take advantage of that in certain ways. And it can cause a lot of confusion as far as where it's an interesting thing because if if someone or something or some place in your life, if it brings you some type of distress or comfort or whatever, you don't have to keep them in your life. I mean, it's kind of like as easy as that. And I think that some people think like, oh, with family and shared finances and things like that, that you have to kind of like suck it up. And even like living in America and capitalism and stuff like that, like you kind of feel like you have to participate because you have to eat, or you have bills to pay because you don't want to be on the street. But sorry about that. Um, but if everyone decided that they didn't want to do something, no one would have to do it. If everyone gave themselves the power to say no to something, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. None of this is mandatory. None of this is mandatory. You can live any way you want to, and there's so many ways to do it. There's so many outlets, and really, if I've talked I did many videos that didn't get to be uploaded and I didn't get to rewatch them. So I don't know what I've said really. I don't have no I have no idea what I've told you guys. But there are so many limits, there are so many cages in this world. It's just like you think you're in one cage and you get out of that cage and you find yourself in a slightly bigger cage, and it's just kind of like those Russian dolls where it's like well, when it's all together, it's like take a little one inside a little one inside a little one inside a little one inside a little one. It's very much that same thing. And one of the main things is, I don't know if this is the biggest one or if the smallest one, but it seems like one of the most important ones for me, at least in my lessons, is that I'm allowed to say yes and no to whatever I want. Especially if it does not involve another person's sphere or perspective. If if my effect on someone's sphere or perspective is that they see me, is that they witness me, this is not a crime on their perspective. If I had a perspective and I needed everyone to do exactly what I wanted them to do, that would be a crime on someone else's perspective. As soon as you try to influence, change, or control someone else's perspective, you're crossing a boundary and becoming intrusive. You're becoming like domineering in a very like non-consensual way, or like very like recklessly. I don't want to, like, you haven't, like, you're trying to exercise a control you do not have. And I think that a lot of people try to exercise or control other people because they feel like they don't have control over themselves. And that's what I mean by that's either like the smallest cage or like your biggest cage. Or I think that that cage shows up in multiple forms as you progress through this type of awareness. Um, that yeah, whatever you see is whatever you see is a reflection of you. You can see whatever you want. You can change what you see, so you can change the reflection of you. If you surround yourself in things that only make you positive, like only make you feel positively or fill you with delight or love or whatever it is, then you will continuously be reflected back into that. And the more you practice being in positive reflection, the more positive the rest of your life will seem to you. You're just getting in the practice. It's like kind of like doing a gratitude list. You're practicing positivity. And some people practice negativity. And this is when people get into that cycle of being either like a victim or, and I think that people who indulge in being a victim also indulge in being a tyrant. It's that it's that toddler tantrum type of energy where and I think a lot of people use victimhood to control other people, because if they can invoke sentimentality out of you, you will do things for them. And this is kind of like what I was talking about, people pleasing. I still haven't thought about why it is that people pleasing seems to be such an easy thing to do. Um, there must be definitely some social behavioral influence. I mean, even if it's just like I mean, it would be really interesting to know if that was all just like a man-made social reaction that's like kind of passed down. You know how you can pass down trauma in your DNA to your, like it can be passed on like, you know, ages ago to you right now. Like you can feel trauma about something even though you never experienced that particular traumatic experience, which I think could explain a lot of phobias. Um, yeah, because it makes no sense that I would be afraid of spiders as a kid, because nothing's ever bad. Like me and a spider, we never had a bad interaction. It's not like I was bit by a spider and my leg got all swollen up or anything like that. Like no, it's not. And so I had to learn how to overcome my arachnophobia, um, little by little by exposure therapy. And where was I going with that? I think that there's just a lot of energy that is not yours. I'll say it like that. Like there's a lot of energy that you keep around you that is not yours. And the good way to know that if that energy is not yours is if it makes you feel confused, if it makes you feel pressure, or it makes you feel like afraid in a way that is like, there's a difference forms of being like afraid, and you think it's fear but it's really just excitement. um but like fear as in like dread for, like, I mean, honestly I think it's probably a better way to describe it as a combination of pressure and confusion when you're like in a stress situation. Not, I don't want to say, I think, well, I think that the fear isn't yours. Because honestly, there's nothing to fear. Because I mean, like, your biggest worry is that you're gonna die. And if you're here in this world and you're like, and you're so, like, this is not the world I would have suggested you have manifested in if you were going to fear dying at every turn, every corner that you turn. You know, if you're gonna be the kind of person who is like, if you're desperate to survive, if your feeling of being desperate to survive inhibits your f- feeling of feeling alive, if that makes sense, if I said that right, if trying to survive interferes with living, you pick the wrong world to show up in. You pick the wrong one to show up in. And I think there's a lot of like media and TV and movies and people around you who inspire this excessive fear. And fear makes people act in ways that brings fear to other people. If you stop acting in fear, you'll stop scaring people. Most people who scare other people are acting in fear. People who intimidate or try to be big and all in your face are afraid of you. Even if you think like, oh, why would they be afraid of me? And like, I'm no threat. I'm small. I'm petite. I'm not gonna hurt anybody. And that's kind of like what they're afraid of. They're afraid to see someone not be like pushy and domineering and violent and just in a general sense without any like any focused type of release. Because a lot of people do need to release that energy because the energy is being placed on you or absorbed by you depending on your level of apathy, or not apathy, your level of empathy, but I guess your level of apathy too. If you have a lot of apathy in you, you're probably not going to pick up on a lot of energies, and this is why a lot of people with apathy don't pick up on good feelings as well as bad feelings. They're kind of blocked off as like your shield. But everyone needs an outlet to be able to express control. And the best way to express your control is to express it over yourself. Never over other people. It's not going to work. It's never going to be processed in, like, some people try to control other people for their own for the other person's safety, just like parents do. Parents can be very fearful of losing their children, and they can put a lot of control over them to make them feel safe, but it's not processed like that in a kid. A kid does not process that. And if they ever do kind of like understand that you as a parent are trying to protect them, it's not until after they have already like become somebody, which is kind of crazy because as a parent, you're supposed to inspire them to become somebody. You're supposed to help them get over fears and show them things that you can overcome, things like embarrassment or mistakes. And that's why I was talking about before when I was like, you don't want to hold every person who's been convicted of a crime as their title being completely criminal, because our job is to overcome these energies that don't belong to us. And I really do think, like, as people, fear is not an energy that belongs to us. We're too smart for it. But we use our intelligence to justify our fear, which I think is just fear being like an energetic entity that wants to survive. It wants to live in us. Just kind of like, have you guys ever read the book The Host? I didn't read it, but someone very close to me read it, and she was telling me about it and how like this intergalactic or celestial or whatever it was entity lived in people and communicated with people. And um, I think the main person, I think it was Stephanie Myers too, like Twilight. And then I know, I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but um, like they worked together, I guess, to survive. I think I don't remember all of it. Maybe I should read it, but it's kind of like the same thing, except fear is convincing you that it's a friend and it's not. We live like our imaginations, our capabilities, our our humanness is just limited by fear. It will always be a problem. It will always be, and especially if you don't know how to exercise that fear. And a lot of fear is exercised through art and music, poetry, um, also like lots of sexual interactions out with that too. Like there are lots of like role playing can be very helpful to provide you as a person who's experienced trauma or like a stressful situation or abusive situation, it can help you gain a little bit control over that situation. You can, not that I'm saying that everyone should jump into a scenario that triggers them, but well, actually, I think that working, you don't want to hold your trigger as an untouchable thing. You want to be able to be triggered and move forward with it. So the more you're triggered, the more practiced you are at moving forward with it. Just like making mistakes and going through embarrassment, or failing. Like all these things you kind of need practice doing. You, so that when it happens, because it'll inevitably happen, because and I think the reason why it happens is because you can't hold focus forever. I feel like as long as you focus on being positive, you will be positive. But every once in a while, you need to like balance it out. You like your body can't hold on to, it can't ignore negativity forever. And because there's negativity around, at least as much as it is, you have to have a time to take in that feeling and let it out in a way that doesn't interrupt someone else's perspective. Because if you're mad and your idea is to yell at people or hurt them or take revenge or something like that, you're not processing it in a way that is controlled, or you're not processing it in a way that is like in your control to decide whether or not it's successful or not. When it has to do with someone else, you have to wait for that person to feel the feeling that you want them to feel. You have to wait for that person to fail themselves or to feel shame or embarrassment themselves, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it's because their it's not actually what you want. It's not that you want someone who you're angry with to feel bad. You don't actually want that. You want to feel good. And you think that if that person that hurts you feels bad, you'll feel good. But there's so many movies about revenge and how it just kind of makes you want more and more and more. And it's never enough. It's never satisfying because it hasn't gotten to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem usually is that you were triggered and you don't know how to overcome that trigger. That's why, like, and that's why there's a difference between justice and revenge. Justice is getting over your trigger, honestly, is being able to move past that traumatic experience. And that can come in many, many, many different ways. Like, some people do involve other people in their sphere of perspective. Some people need to say it to the other people, like, oh, yeah, that was wrong. And that shouldn't have happened to you. And that can be very helpful. But I do think like that deep healing comes from understanding, why does that trigger me? And is it such a bad thing that it triggers me, or is it such a bad thing that that part of me does exist? And that's what shadow work is. When you learn to kind of appreciate your flaws or the things that make you less appealing. Like, if you are someone, like I had a scenario before about like someone who, when they get mad, they punch walls. And for a second there, I was like kind of thinking like, oh well, that's kind of like um lacking grace, or elegance. And but that's just my perspective. And I was thinking about that, and I think, well, what is the problem with that? Um, Besides, like, you could damage someone else's property, but if you are really mindful of it, and you are the person who gets mad and you have to hit something, you can hit whatever you want. That's yours. There's no. I mean, people have punching bags for a reason. I mean, and if you want to punch a bunch of holes in your wall, then you can. And I've seen someone do that where they punched a hole in their wall and they framed it. And I think that's exactly what transmutation is. That is when you own what someone used against you as a flaw. And I think that's probably the perfect way to say it. I think a lot of people will pick out lots of things that they think is a flaw, but it's not a flaw to somebody else. And I think that when you present your like past flaws this way, they become rather charming. It becomes rather like, when I saw the framed picture, I was like, oh my gosh, well, it's very Dadaism, it's very Duchamp, it's very that urinal, or the Banksy's banana just taped to the wall. Like, it's very, very like, I love a conceptual piece of art. I love modern art. I love that. I love traditional art too. Um, I love all art, honestly. But like, when you make your dark side an art form, is magnetic. I can't. I mean, I think. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are people who are a little bit more resistant to things. I think that maybe there are some people who are more resistant to things than I am, but that becomes very, very um, show stopping to me, because it's very authentic, it's very raw, it's very in the moment. I love impulsive energy, especially when it comes to like expressing yourself. And I think, it's so crazy too, because I say all that and I see how punching a wall is impulsive, expressive energy. And is that not just creation? Isn't that not just like the creative process? And there's lots of people who do violent art where their expression is very much the opposite of mine, which is very like I like this, like, my art seems very much like massaging my energy onto the canvas. It's very like, I'm more of like a push through until I break through the boundary kind of thing, where some other people are like a little bit more, instant about it. Like, some people break through, and I'm kind of like Kitty Pryde from the X-Men, where I kind of like phase into it. I don't, which is kind of crazy, to think about how like it's very like, it's almost like a form of physical astral projection when you like carve work into something. It like, mine's a very slow but insistent progression, like how the ocean beats rocks down into sand, very much like that. But there's other people who are like rocks falling onto a car. And I think that talking about this now has given me a really good appreciation for different forms of expression. Not everyone is as like watery as me. And I think, as because I always thought that, my definition of art is anything on a pedestal. And so you you can convince, and it's so, I'm completely authentic about this, and do with this information what you will. Keep your intentions good. Keep your intentions good, because doing the opposite is not advisable. But you can get me, you can convince me if you present something to me in a frame, behind glass, on a pedestal, or around cameras. I'm going to be like, oh wow, that's important. I'm like, oh wow, that you put some thought into that. You could put a half-eaten sandwich on one of those little pottery sculptures, and I'd be like, yes, art, yes, yes. Um, but yeah, I think that if we're talking about self-help thing, to wrap it all up, I think that this has to do a lot with transmutation. I think that with this, Bridge is giving, like, this is the main character of someone who's learned how to transmute negative energy into authentic, positive, and self-supporting energy. And this is something that I like to keep thriving with. And I encourage other people who resonate with this movie, this reading, whatever it is you want to call what I'm doing, to continue to do with that. Anything that everyone greatest everyone's weakness is their greatest strength. If people say you're too sensitive, if people say you tell it too real, if people say that you're too authentic, if people say that you're too strategic, if people say that you are, any of these things, your humor is too dark, or people say that you're too politically correct, or people say that you are too, like, morally righteous. All these things are your strength, and they're just trying to take your weapon away from you so that they won't so that you won't use it against their plans, because they want to control you. They're really dependent, like, their perspective sees you as a threat. And every time you see someone else's perspective as a threat, you're not in your perspective. You're not in your bubble. You're not respecting someone else's boundaries. No one's a threat to you. Stop living in fear. No one's out to get you. No one's out to get you. It's that type of thinking that gets you to go after other people. No one's out to get you. No one wants what you have. You don't even want what you have. Stop playing. That's why you're so desperate to have whatever someone else doesn't have, or to take it from them, because you don't even want what you have. Yeah. Start framing your flaws. Start showing yourself. Decorate your bubble, guys. Decorate your bubble. Life, it can be whatever you want to see. Stop looking at things you don't want to see. Stop looking at things you don't want to see. Just like I was talking before, if you can't be on Facebook because you're afraid whatever you're gonna see is gonna stress you out. If you can't go to the grocery store because you're that one cash register is gonna talk to you and stress you out, don't go there. Don't go there. It's as easy as that. You don't have to find a way to get them fired. You don't have to find a way to get someone reported. You don't have to, you don't have to go there. And if it's something like your personal space, like, if, like, say, like, you had, you, like, worked at a bakery, and it was your bakery, and every time you're always afraid because one customer is going to come in and complain about everything and make a big old show, tell them they can't come. Tell them that they can't, that you're not going to serve them. Tell them you're not. Just tell them you're not. Especially if it has to do with how intrusive their perspective is on your perspective, that's a perfectly good reason to just not deal with them. If on the opposite end, if you on the opposite end, you can't tell people to stop doing what they're doing. All you can do is separate yourself from that person. And some people are afraid that you'll learn that, and they'll be alone because no one wants to be around someone who's always intruding on someone else's perspective. All right, well, I'm gonna leave it at that because I could yap forever. It's already 45 minutes. So thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell me about it because I don't care and I don't want to hear about it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Um, I hope everything in your perspective is as pleasant as you are, and I mean that, as pleasant as you are. And yeah, stay out of people's bubbles. All right, bye.